Hello Bama fans! Javion Hilson recently left FSU, despite strong inquiries from Texas. Can Alabama turn things around and sign this guy? How is the inquiry for this recruit going? Let's take a look. But first, subscribe to the channel and keep receiving more Bama news. Possibly Kalen DeBoer, who has his eye on a great recruit who was once very close to Bama. Javion Hilson. He has recently been considering options for Texas, a strong competitor, but could this move to Bama be a reality? He distanced himself from the program after Nick Saban left the team, but there are great recruits who have arrived and will arrive at Bama, inspiring great confidence in Coach DeBoer. DeBoer's influence has proven effective in revitalizing the program and apparently reigniting Hilson's interest. For DeBoer, Hilson's return to Tuscaloosa is not just a fan desire, but a priority. The coach's ability to keep Alabama competitive in recruiting despite major changes reinforces his confidence in his ability. Hilson, who was a dominant player at Cocoa High School, where he recorded 97 tackles and 14 sacks his junior season, fits the bill perfectly for the type of player DeBoer is seeking for Alabama. Even with strong competition from Texas, which is currently leading the race for Hilson, DeBoer sees room for improvement. Hilson's visits to Tuscaloosa this year and the possibility of a reunion soon show that the Crimson Tide is still a viable option. DeBoer's thoughtful and strategic approach, based on building strong relationships and presenting a long-term vision for the player's future, could be the key to bringing Hilson back. If he returns to Alabama, his presence will make an immediate impact on the team's defense, thanks to his athleticism and ability to overcome blocks quickly, which would be very interesting for Bama. Incorporating Hilson into the 2025 class would not only bolster a group already considered one of the best in the country, but it would also represent another milestone for DeBoer in his mission to keep Alabama on top. The competition with Texas promises to be tough, and DeBoer and his staff have no intention of backing down. Will recruiting Hilson be a priority for Bama? Hilson's acquisition would be further proof of DeBoer's power of persuasion and his dedication to keeping Alabama a college football powerhouse. Whatever the outcome, DeBoer has already shown that he is willing to do whatever it takes to secure the best talent for the Crimson Tide. We've been following along, and we'll keep watching to see how this story unfolds. Jalen Milroe is about to embark on another challenge, and after a week off, all eyes will be on him. The Alabama quarterback, known for his explosive ability, has alternated between moments of brilliance and struggles this season. For many, this is just part of the growth of a player who, when given time to prepare, shows why he is one of the most exciting players in college football. Milroe's career with Alabama football has been marked by ups and downs, a roller coaster ride that has challenged fans and critics alike. Alabama's fan base sees the potential in Milroe, pointing to his accomplishments and development, especially remembering the fact that he was once among the favorites for the 2023 Heisman Trophy, a position of respect that is not granted lightly. On the other side are those who question whether he really is the ideal quarterback to lead Alabama, but that is a view that ignores his ability to decide games in crucial moments. When he's at the top of his game, Milroe is a nightmare for opposing defenses to deal with, a belief that even the best defensive coaches, like Kirby Smart, acknowledge. On November 9th, Alabama will face LSU in the dreaded Death Valley, and Milroe finds himself coming off another week off. That rest has proven to be crucial in previous games, such as in the win over LSU in 2023 and in the epic matchup against Georgia in 2024. On both occasions, the quarterback shined with performances that are still remembered by fans today. Against LSU, Milroe accumulated 219 passing yards and an impressive 155 rushing yards, adding 4 touchdowns. In 2024, against Georgia, he was even more decisive, with 374 passing yards and 2 more touchdowns on the ground. These numbers leave no doubt, with extra preparation, Jalen Milroe will become a virtually unstoppable force, and that's exactly what Alabama needs right now. For many, a week off isn't just an opportunity to adjust strategy, it's also a chance for Milroe's physicality to recover. The rest has allowed the quarterback to regain his vigor, something that's reflected in his explosive performances on the field. Last season, after a stretch of games where Milroe seemed to be physically worn out, the rest brought about a dramatic change. He came back with a vengeance, using his legs to rack up over 190 yards and 7 touchdowns in the subsequent games. It's a trait few quarterbacks possess, and one that makes Milroe a key part of Alabama's offensive scheme. His presence threatens defenses, who know he can both throw with accuracy and run with agility and power, creating a dynamic that demands opponents' full attention. And this year, it seems like the rest has come at just the right time again. The game against Missouri showed signs of a Milroe who is back to his best, with 50 rushing yards on a solid 4.5 yards per carry average, his best marks since the matchup against Georgia. However, what Alabama fans are hoping for is a performance like the ones he has when he comes off a bye week, with renewed energy and ready to lead the team. Milroe is expected to show his full potential at this critical point in the season, carrying Alabama on his back. With November approaching and the schedule tight, Alabama needs every weapon it can get to stay competitive. And Jalen Milroe, a quarterback who combines accuracy, mobility and toughness, is exactly the piece that can make the difference. Defensive coordinator Kane Wommack's work in recent weeks has been remarkable, and it's fair to say he deserves recognition for what he's doing with Alabama's defense. In a season that began with doubts and criticism after a surprising loss to Vanderbilt, Wommack is leading a defensive transformation, and that's directly reflected in the Crimson Tide's performances. Alabama's defensive coordinators have had a history of intense relationships with the fans. Just remember that even names like Kirby Smart and Jeremy Pruitt, key figures in the glory days of the Saban era, have faced their share of criticism. More recently, Pete Golding was the target of constant complaints, even after leading a national championship defense. Now, Wommack takes on that responsibility, but over the past few weeks, he's shown that he's up for the challenge and that his strategic vision can, in fact, raise the level of the Tide's defense. Early in the season, Wommack impressed by leading a solid defense against lesser opponents such as Western Kentucky, USF, and Wisconsin. His defensive approach, characterized by a new, lean scheme, allowed a young defense to move quickly and efficiently. This concept of swarming, defending with intensity and as a team, seemed ideal for the group, especially with a season of great challenges ahead. However, as is often the case in college football, the fine line between genius and villain is constantly being tested. The second half against Georgia exposed some weaknesses, particularly in the difficulty of stopping fourth down conversions, an aspect that angered the fans and put Wommack in the spotlight. The situation worsened after the shocking loss to Vanderbilt, which, at the time, was seen as the low point of the season. Many clamored for Wommack to be fired, but the coordinator, instead of getting discouraged, used the episode as an opportunity to adapt. What followed were weeks of restructuring and adjustments that began to bear fruit. Against South Carolina, the defense showed improvement, even with some shaky moments, allowing big plays that made it hard to get the final score. However, Wommack's resilience was clear. He was willing to adjust his scheme to maximize the team's potential, and that flexibility is paying off. Over the past 2 weeks, Alabama's defense has been one of the best in the country, putting in impressive performances against Tennessee and Missouri. In the matchup against Tennessee, Alabama lost the game, but Wommack's defense was exemplary, generating turnovers and creating opportunities that the offense unfortunately did not capitalize on. The following week, against Missouri, the defense completely dominated, culminating in a rare SEC shutout, the first time in 4 years that Alabama had been able to stop a conference opponent from scoring. That shutout was more than a victory, it was a statement. Even with a secure lead in the fourth quarter, when Missouri threatened to score, Wommack decided to put the starters back on the field to ensure the defense kept the score at 0. It was a symbolic moment that showed how committed the defense was to getting the job done. The celebration on the sideline afterward underscored how important this accomplishment was to the group and to Wommack. That kind of attitude reflects the spirit of Alabama and demonstrates the kind of culture the coordinator is trying to establish. Facing a defense that has lost key NFL players like Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell, as well as Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry, Womack has been forced to reinvent himself. With an inexperienced secondary, he has had to deviate from his usual style of avoiding frequent blitzes. In the early weeks, he relied on a more restrained approach, but as the season progressed, he realized that the extra pressure was needed to protect the young secondary and maximize the potential of his defense. That kind of change in approach is the kind of adjustment that makes for good coaching, and Womack, by all accounts, is delivering exactly what Alabama needs at this crucial time. With a challenging final stretch of the season, Alabama has a defense on the rise and a coordinator who seems to have found the formula to get the best out of his players. The evolution under Womack offers hope, not only for the upcoming games, but for the future of Alabama's defense, which, if it keeps up the pace, could once again establish itself as one of the best in the country. Game on! Now, let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa's return to the field last Sunday was more than just a sports performance, it was a personal triumph, even in the midst of a loss. After a month out due to a serious concussion suffered against the Buffalo Bills in Week 2, Tua returned to the Miami Dolphins, bringing hope and determination to a team that has struggled in his absence. His return was surrounded by uncertainty, considering the history of injuries that has already haunted his career. For many, the idea of Tua continuing to play football was a matter of debate, a young, brilliant quarterback with a great future, but who puts his own health at risk with every game. However, after a series of rigorous medical evaluations, Tua was allowed to return to the field, and he made it clear from the beginning, if he was cleared, he would return. The decision speaks to the love and determination he has for the game, a trait that fans recognize and respect. Tua's absence was felt keenly by the Miami Dolphins, who managed just 40 points in the 4 games he missed, registering a series of disappointing results. The quarterback's return was seen as a much-needed shot in the arm, and indeed he proved his worth immediately. Despite a losing 28-27 final score against the Arizona Cardinals, Tua's presence transformed the Dolphins' offense, which finally seemed to have rhythm and consistency. The 27 points scored with him at the helm were more than enough to win almost every game during his absence. Tua left the field with his head held high, with no signs of injury or insecurity, a point that cannot be ignored after the recent trauma. His performance was solid and controlled, with 28 passes completed in 38 attempts for 234 yards and a touchdown. In addition to his technical performance, he showed care and caution in his actions, sliding to avoid unnecessary contact, to the relief of the fans and the coaching staff. The response from fans was immediate and warm, reflecting the respect and affection that everyone has for Tua and the relief that he is playing with confidence. The loss may have hurt the Dolphins' chances this season, leaving the team at 2-5 and further out of the playoff picture. However, for Tua, the final result was just a small detail. The real victory came in his own return to the game, under his own control and without injury. Seeing Tua back on the field, playing the game he loves, is a reminder of the talent and resilience that defines him. Every play still leaves everyone in the crowd with their hearts in their mouths, but he continues to be confident, and we hope that this return is the beginning of a string of confident games, where joy and passion for the game overcomes fears. Tua Tagovailoa is, without a doubt, one of the most exciting and promising talents in football, and he deserves the chance to continue his career on his own terms. He's a young player, with a natural sense of invincibility for someone in his 20s, determined to compete at the highest level. Wishing the best and success to this guy with the Bama fans. And what do you think? Comment and leave a message for Tua and Bama.